All right, Rachel, I think everybody's here that we're going to have.
Sounds good. I will go ahead and get us started then. All right. So I am going to be teaching quality goal setting for section rehearsals. And I put at the bottom, now with more puppies. My husband and I just moved to the beach and we bought a puppy. And so I just decided to kind of thread that little theme in there, though it has absolutely nothing to do with goal setting or section rehearsals. So you'll see puppies. In any case, let me tell you a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's in music ed with an emphasis in choral music specifically. That's what I've chosen to kind of spend my life doing. I love choirs and singing, it's great. I have a master's in education with an emphasis in learning and technology. So, all that means is I understand how to take technology and kind of insert it into a lesson in a way that benefits students. I've taught choir in public schools for 7 years, going into my 8th year. Very excited about that. Mostly in middle schools and high schools, although this year I'm going to be tackling third and fourth graders. Woo! I'm a private voice instructor and coach, member of the Region 13 faculty, director of Jet Cities Chorus out of Federal Way, Washington. Woo! Co-musical director of Harmony Explosion Northwest with another instructor that you will see tomorrow morning doing warm-ups, Drew Osterhout, and tenor of international level quartets. Most recently, I sang with Renegade. We took 8th in the last 2 international contests. All right, so now that I've introduced me, I'll go ahead and introduce the course for you. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm going to define section rehearsal as a small ensemble rehearsal of one voice part run by the section leader. Our objectives for today in this class are going to be, I can explore various elements that impact my planning process, and I can create quality objectives for a section rehearsal. Okay, so my entry task for you starts with this. Please imagine that you are going to lead a section rehearsal. You need to create objectives and an agenda prior to stepping into that situation. So the question I'm going to ask is, what are some challenges you might encounter as you plan for your rehearsal? And I'm going to incorporate some technology here. I'll give you a couple choices. Choice 1, you can click on that link. It will take you to something called a Mentimeter, and then you can respond to the question. Choice number 2, you can follow the instructions up at the top here. Go to www.menti.com and input the code that you see on my screen. Hopefully you see on my screen. Actually, I bet you can't see it. Give me 1 second. Okay, now you should be able to see it. You can go to www.menti.com and use the code you see to enter your answer. Or choice number 3, if you feel very uncomfortable with picking up a new piece of technology, you are more than welcome to just type it in the chat or even just make sure you're muted and then talk to yourself and answer the question out loud. All of those things work just as well. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to complete this task. What are some challenges you might encounter as you plan for your rehearsal? As you're thinking about this and finishing up your answers, I'll go ahead and see if I can do this. Oh, maybe I can't. There we go. So I said it would be puppy themed. So here's the first little puppy theme. This is Oliver. He's my new puppy. He's pretty gosh dang cute. And the photo's so good because my husband took it and he's like a photographer. So proud of both of them. Really, I'm just proud of Ollie for existing. My husband does all sorts of cool stuff though. All right, moving right along. These are great answers. Thank you. Hopefully you got a chance to see the shared screen so you can see kind of what everybody else was saying as well. I really like Mentimeter for that specifically. All right, let me switch back over here. Okay, so you probably came up with a few kind of planning considerations and things, and you might have come up with some that I didn't think of, which is great. It's good to collaborate with each other. But here are just a few that have come up when I was thinking about what you might need to plan for. What are some challenges? What are things you need to think about? What is the frequency of sectionals? Are you doing sectionals once in a blue moon, or is it something where your director has it set up every single week in rehearsal? You've got a 15-minute slot and you have to fill that time. Length of sectional. Again, is it a 15-minute sectional, or is it maybe only when the director is absent and you have 2.5 hours that you get to play with? Number of members in your section and who is present within that. So if you have a 15-person section, I'll just say, and only 2 people are at your section rehearsal, that's going to inform the way in which you teach your sectional, right? You might not want to focus on blend necessarily if you've only got your 2 members, and typically you would have 15 in your section. Skill level of section. It's important for you to know where your vocalists are at. So I really, I definitely like love the idea of. I think it was Lucy that was talking about coming up with one thing, one positive thing for each of your members in your section, right? And that really goes along with knowing your section, knowing each member of your section, knowing their names and what are their strengths, right? And overall understanding where you are at as a section so that you can help them kind of get to that next level. Director input, right? Has your director given you a list ahead of time? Hey, please work on your section about these things. Or do they just say, hey, sectional in 5 minutes, ready, go? Timeline until next performance. Are you going to perform in 2 weeks, or are you going to perform in many, many months, right? So if it's 2 weeks, you might not want to say something or encourage a fundamental change in the sound of your section, because I guarantee everybody's going to be like panicked, like, oh my gosh, I don't remember how to sing anymore, right? So making sure that you keep the timeline in mind. Maybe you want to work on something to do with memorization, or maybe it's something about facial expression or something else that would make sense in the time allotted in that case. And then this kind of goes along with the previous bullet point. Which songs are most relevant to work on? You would not maybe want to focus on random song XYZ if it's not part of your set list that you're going to perform in 5 days, right? So you want to just kind of have those things in mind as you're creating a plan for your section. Okay, so, to help us kind of continue to think through the challenges and how we go about planning for our section, I'm going to have you answer the following questions. So, let me do one thing here. I'm just going to copy a link and stick it in the chat. So, you have 2 options for this. Well, I guess you have 3. You can always just talk to yourself. I will always give you the option of just talking to yourself. Option number 1, you can click on the link that I just put in the Zoom chat, I'll click on it to show you what it does. It will force you to make a copy. You would click make a copy. And basically what this is it's just these questions in a Google Doc. But the reason it makes you make a copy is so that we're not all trying to type over the top of each other. You can also just answer these on a piece of paper. Alternatively, again, you can just talk to yourself. You're welcome to do that. I'm going to go ahead and click this 5-minute puppy timer. It's just going to show pictures of adorable puppies. On your mark, get set, go.
Well, that's a good way to do it. Listen to music.
Just so you know, sorry if I scared you, 2 minutes left. And if you're finished answering the questions, you can come back and look at adorable pictures of puppies. Alternatively, you can think a little bit more deeply about the things that your section consistently struggles with. Start to think about maybe go more in depth than just in general, we struggle with maybe alignment or breathing, right? Like, is there some part of some song that you work on that every time you sing it through, it's incorrect? How detailed can you get once you've done big picture? Thirty more seconds for adorable puppies and or deep thinking on section rehearsals. All right. And that concludes our countdown. So thank you so much for thinking about those things. The answers to those questions are really going to help inform how you approach your sectional. Again, just making sure that what you are doing is led by kind of a thoughtful approach as opposed to you've got a sectional, so you're just going to run in and just hope for the best, right? Really thinking about how to put together something that is beneficial for each member of your section. Okay, so at this point, you have determined like what elements are going to impact your planning. So let's talk about how to choose an objective. You know your section. What do you work on? One thing you can pull from is what does your director talk about in rehearsals? So you can always be taking notes, right? Thinking about what is occurring in each rehearsal, not just about the way in which your director is directing, but also specifics about what's being said. What things can you reinforce then in your section rehearsals? So even if your director doesn't tell you, hey, work on this, this, and this, you can kind of decide to work on those things because they're things that your director has talked about in rehearsal, right? Always reminding your section, just like Elizabeth was mentioning earlier, right? We're in the business of reminding. You can also use the judging category description book. If you just need ideas, you're like, I have no idea what to work on, you are welcome to kind of just look through this document and see what you can find. I could probably teach a whole class, maybe even a series of classes on the judging category description book, so that's not really what this evening is about. But I did want to just point out a couple of places you can go in the judging category description book. So I'm going to actually also put this link, hold please, in the chat. You can access this through the Sweet Adelines International website. You do have to log in order to access it. Okay, so where was I? Yep, I was right here. The first page is actually like a bunch of links, so you can just click through and see kind of more about any given category. If your director's been working a lot on expression or music or sound or visual communication, whatever it might be, you might choose to focus on one of those categories. I'm just going to click on one and then kind of look through it and see what elements might be good for my section to work on. So I'm going to click on sound. Okay, so I can clearly see the breakdown of sound. Okay. And then I would just go down and I can read more about it if I want to just kind of learn and focus myself or remind myself about what is sound in the context of my chorus. And then you can just kind of like, okay, here's a great example. Okay. Common posture problems include the following, right? So you might be looking for these specific things, right? It talks about breathing, it goes on, phonation, resonating. There are a ton of things in here that you could pull out. This is like the handbook, right? So you're welcome to do that. You don't have to, but again, if you're looking for ideas, this might be an excellent place for you to start. This is also just, again, a great place for you to learn more about the craft. You can also, under the appendices section, go to performance level guidelines. If you know what level your chorus is at, just in general, you can kind of use that to help you focus your rehearsal plan. So let's go, we're in music right now. So let's say I know that my chorus is performing, like according to the last contest, at about a C level in music, right? That was our score. You can actually see exactly what that means. And you can also see C plus level, right? So pick out one or two things that are different in each of those and maybe make that your focus of your section rehearsal. All right. And then finally, one more thing you can kind of pull from is consistent struggles within your section. So I had you think about this on the last screen, right? Knowing your section, recognizing when there are issues that pop up and when they are consistent over time. And one of the ways you can do that is maybe even stepping out during a rehearsal and listening. Make sure it's okay with your director. Make sure they know what you're doing, right? But I have found that that's a great way for you to be able to kind of get outside of it and listen to your section and have a greater understanding of what the section is doing in general. Okay. So I've been talking about how it's always okay for you to talk to yourselves. So I'm actually going to capitalize on that in this activity here. So based on your specific situation, how will you decide what to work on in your section rehearsals? How are you going to make that determination? What is your plan for that? You're going to have 30 seconds, and the activity is I want you to make sure you're muted, and then you're literally just going to talk to yourself out loud for the next 30 seconds and answer this question. So I should see on my screen mouths moving, but I shouldn't hear any sound. Okay, 30 seconds, on your mark, get set, go. All right, thank you. I hope genuinely that somebody else from your household just knocked on the door to check on you. I thought you were in a meeting or in a presentation. Are you supposed to be talking right now? That would make me very happy. All right, thank you, everyone. So again, we're just kind of processing through. Excellent. So up next, you have determined what you want to work on, and you've determined the elements of your section that are going to kind of inform that, right? So the next step would be now creating quality objectives and, of course, communicating them to your section. So how do we create a quality objective? We're going to start with an I can statement. So this is something where each member of your section can basically say it and know if they're matching up to that or not. I can do this or I can do that. And I'll show you an example in a moment. Quality objectives should be achievable within the time frame. So if you have 15 minutes versus 2.5 hours, right? Make sure that whatever your objectives are, they're achievable in the time frame. A poor example of this might be, I can sing accurate notes in all of our new songs, right? So if you have a 20-minute sectional and 3 new songs and maybe no instruction or maybe little instruction from your director, I would not advise that your objective should be, I can sing accurate notes in all of our new songs, because that is probably not going to happen. A different idea might be, I can sing accurate notes in measures 31 through 45 of Seasons of Love. All right, so it is achievable in the time frame. Both of these are good examples of I can statements, right? Where the vocalist can actually repeat it back. I can sing accurate notes in measures of 31 to 45 of seasons of love. And they know if they can do that or not. And finally, specific. So a poor example might be I can learn my music. I can learn my music could mean a million different things, right? And it's hard to know if you've really learned your music. Like, have any of us really learned our music? What does that mean? Do you have to be memorized in order to have learned the music? Do you have to give an authentic performance in order to really learn and know the music? What does that mean, right? A good example might be I can perform the correct rhythm in the chorus of In Harmony. So in the chorus of In Harmony, that's exactly where that's happening. And then the correct rhythm, right? So you want to make sure all your rhythms are good through that section. As a member of the section, I can then repeat those objectives back and I can know if I'm meeting the objective or if I maybe need to do some more work on those. Okay, so our next activity is going to be to create an objective. You are going to create a music-oriented objective that pertains to either pitch note accuracy or rhythmic accuracy. It needs to follow these three parameters: I can statements, achievable in the time frame, and specific. If you are feeling confident with your objective that you've created, maybe you got your music out even and you like found a spot to work on, it's like really accurate for your chorus specifically. If you've done that, for imaginary bonus points, you can then create a second objective that deals with a different musical element. So not pitch or rhythm, something else. Okay, that's kind of like the bonus activity if you have time. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this. Good luck. On your mark, get set, go. We are just about halfway through the puppies. So if you'd like to do that imaginary bonus point activity and work on a second objective that has nothing to do with pitch or rhythm, feel free to give that a shot. Fifteen seconds left. All right, and we're taking a short break from puppies. So I would love to see and or hear your I can statements. So go ahead and throw those in the chat if you'd like, or if you'd like to unmute and speak an objective, I would love to hear those. Go ahead and do that now. I can almost I just can imagine all of you just like typing as fast as your fingers will like allow you. Oh, nice. Okay, they're coming in. I see them in the chat. Okay. It sounds like I do have somebody that's unmuted without the intention of answering the question. Tech folk, if you could find that person and mute them, that would be great. Or everybody else, if you could just double check that you're muted. Good. And I would encourage everyone to take a look at the chat. Some really great answers coming in there. I can sing the spoken sections of Footloose in my forward space. I can accurately execute the rhythm of the dum-dums in Sing. I can sing the descending line in AKSC in the same space. Nice. These are great, you guys. Nice work. So remember, at the end, any member of your section should be able to read that objective back to themselves, right? I can learn notes and pitch of chorus 2 of our new uptune. And then they should be able to compare. Was I able to actually do that? When I speak that statement, is that true for me? Or do I need to now continue on at home and do some more work on that? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on. If you have more I can statements you'd love to share, feel free to continue to put those in the chat. Okay. So I felt like after talking about all of these like parts and pieces of putting together a great section rehearsal, I needed to acknowledge that sometimes things do not go according to plan. You can plan the best plan in the history of all plans ever, and yet sometimes your director, they had told you that you had 30 minutes, and suddenly now you only have 20 minutes or 15 minutes because maybe they spent a little bit more time on a song in the full group rehearsal. So you have to kind of figure out how to handle these situations, these challenges. So I just want to talk a little bit about these. Being flexible is so, so, so important. Somebody said earlier, and there have been so many wonderful presenters, I can't now remember when it happened, but somebody mentioned that when you have a plan, sometimes it can be easy to be like more flexible from that plan because, oh, it was Lucy, you can prioritize which elements maybe need to take precedence over others. When you see the big picture, right? You see the big picture of your plan, then you see the clock, you can kind of recognize that and say, okay, well, I'm going to hit this and this, but I'm not going to give as much detail to this because I don't have time for it. You could maybe even make that like a little homework assignment, like, hey, everybody, send me a recording of you singing this part and we'll talk about it next time. Time management of section leader, right? So something that you might need to kind of adjust is you might want to spend 30 minutes on objective number 1 when you had 3 objectives to get to, right? So that's something you have to kind of think about ahead of time and think you want to like plan it out, right? And you want to kind of make sure that you're allocating some time to each of those objectives so that you don't end up in this particular situation. Sometimes it happens, right? And then you have to kind of like, well, maybe next time I'll have to do this and this and this differently. No matter what you say or do, your section is not achieving the goal you set forth. Dang it. Earlier, Elizabeth was talking about basically saying the same concept, but in several different ways. That is so great for this bullet point. That's like, that would be my first piece of advice. So, so you're saying it in different ways, trying to remind your section and also trying to just kind of acknowledge different learning styles, right? Different things might click for different people. But sometimes, no matter what you say or do, you've explained it 17 different ways, you're just like super on top of it, you know what you're trying to say, but they're just not understanding you. There's a disconnect, right? Your section isn't achieving the goal you set forth. So you have some options here. um, you can keep working on the thing and just repeat yourself. Um, or you can say something along the lines of, um, I need to do some more research and find another strategy so that we can keep working on this skill together, right? So it is okay. It is okay in your sectional to abandon an objective. Acknowledge that. Say something along the lines of, let's keep working on this on our own and we'll try it again next time. Or I will bring a new strategy to work on this next time, but keep working on it on your own. Something along those lines. But I would not spend 30 minutes of my 30-minute sectional on an objective if it's not clicking. At some point, you might just have to kind of cut your losses in that sectional rehearsal and say, we're going to keep working on this, but not right now. It is okay to do that. So don't feel like just because you have these objectives, you have to make all of them perfect. That's just not going to happen every time. And then finally, your section sings something incorrectly that they definitely were doing correctly last rehearsal. This is like my favorite random thing that happens in chorus rehearsal, where it's like we'll work on something and then it'll be fixed for like 4 rehearsals, and then randomly, I don't know if it's a full moon or what, but that 5th rehearsal we get together and it is not fixed anymore. That could happen to you in your rehearsal, in your section rehearsal, where you felt confident. You did not create an objective around something, even though in the past it's been a big issue, something that stands out a lot, something that really does need to be addressed. And then suddenly in your section rehearsal, there it is again, just popped out, right? It is okay to adjust your objectives in the moment. It's okay to say, hey, we were going to do these 3 things, but I'm hearing this, so let's spend 10 minutes on this, and then we'll jump into some of our objectives and we'll get as far as we can with those. So all of these bullet points are really just me saying, be flexible, and it's okay not to follow your plan exactly to the letter. You don't need to set timers like, okay, in 3 minutes we're moving on, right? It's okay to be a little flexible. Try to hold yourself accountable just as far as like, if you're getting to 3 objectives, try to get to those 3 objectives. Try to have a plan in place, but you know your section and you're going to listen for what they need and address that as it happens. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and summarize the things that I've talked to you about today. One of our objectives was I can explore various elements that impact my planning process. So right now you should be able to say that phrase and then determine if you met that objective or if you did not meet that objective, right? Like it should be clear to you. And here are some of the elements that can impact your planning process, although some of you came up with additional ones even at the start when we did our Mentimeter. Frequency of sectionals, length of sectional, number of members in your section and who's present, skill level of your section, director input or lack thereof, timeline until the next performance, and which songs are most relevant to work on. Summary for your second objective, I can create quality goals for a section rehearsal. So again, right now you should be thinking either you can create quality goals for a section rehearsal, or maybe you need more work on that. Maybe you need more information, more practice. Here are 3 strategies for creating quality goals. They should be I can statements, achievable in the time frame, and specific. All right, and then I talked about a couple of other things today. I snuck some things in. So I talked about how to choose an objective. Here were just some ideas. There are a million avenues you can take, but here were just some ideas. Listen in your director-led rehearsals and pull things that your director has worked on to reinforce in your sectional. Look through the judging category description book. Find elements that pop out to you as things that would be beneficial to your section. And maybe even step out of your section in chorus rehearsals, listening to your section from the outside to determine where are the consistent struggles. Those could be big overarching things. You might notice everybody in your section has an issue with alignment, or it might be something really specific. Every time you get to measure 37 in song XYZ, you're singing a D natural instead of a D flat. All right, and then I also talked about some additional challenges. What do you do when your plans just don't go as planned? So that's what we talked about today. We're going to do one more activity, and that is our closing activity. I'm going to ask you these two questions. What are your biggest takeaways from this session, and what do you want to know more about? So let me go ahead and make this happen. This is another Mentimeter. If you happen to still have the Mentimeter open from earlier, you can actually just go click on that and it'll show the next piece here. But if not, you're welcome to click on the link in the chat, or you can go to www.menti.com, MENTI, and use the code that you see up at the top of the screen. Again, if those things don't work for you, you can enter in the answers in the chat, or you can just talk to yourself in the comfort of your own space. I will give you a moment to think and process and write down your thoughts. No puppy timer this time, but there is a puppy. Again, this one's mine on the side of the screen there. He's pretty cute. I love that somebody's takeaway was, I love the puppy timers and I will steal this idea. That's cute. If you have already input your response, I encourage you to go look at the Zoom chat and also the Mentimeter that is being displayed on Zoom, because it's scrolling through your answers and it's really cool to see what other people have said. Lots of people have had the I can statement really resonate with them, which I think is very cool. That's a pattern that I'm seeing. I like actively listen to your section. Ooh, this person says, I want to know how to balance verbal explanations with singing time. That is a great topic for follow-up. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I would hold on to that thought. I like it. And as we're planning our future section leading classes and workshops, I hope to be able to help incorporate some of the things that you're still wanting to know more about. So we have an evaluation going out tomorrow, and it would be great if you could just kind of keep a running list of all the things you still have questions about. Those are going to be really important for Nancy and Ida to continue to plan. Just going to give you about 30 more seconds. Ooh, somebody says, what is the director doing during sectionals? I'm actually going to address this. So uh, it might be the case that the director is actually out that night. And so that's why sectionals are occurring, right? Like they might say, hey, I'm gone, so let's do sectionals tonight. Alternatively, what I like to do as a director is I like to go like walk around in my sectionals. I like to observe what my section leaders are teaching and hopefully give feedback when I can. If give feedback after, I should say. So I don't just come in and start running the sectional necessarily. So it's like, it's a good idea to kind of gauge where your section leader is at so that you can be helping them improve as well. but it would not be a good idea to run into your sectional and go, no, that's not how you teach that concept. Like, you got to do this instead, and then just take over. That would maybe be a little rough. Okay. I do believe I have allotted 30 more seconds. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Well, here, let me just. Adorable puppy picture. And now I will stop sharing. That was very important. Okay. And that concludes my presentation. So I really appreciate you all listening. And if you have more questions, please do let me know. Reach out and I am happy to answer those or direct you to somebody that can for sure. Thank you so much.
Rachel, that was awesome. Well done. And the puppy pictures are just adorable. Makes me want to run out and get a puppy tomorrow. So
Good luck.
I'm wondering if